Hi, I'm Karin.
And I'm Elise,
Welcome back to Poodle People,
where we talk about all things poodles.
Just a friendly reminder that we're not licensed veterinarians, professionals, or handlers. We're just poodle people.
Hey Elise, how are you?
Hey Karin, how's it going?
Great. What's going on this week?
Oh, not much. Just, honestly, I know we're recording this like kind of midway through the week. I'm just ready for the weekend already. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. I think we are always just waiting for the weekend.
Well, yeah, that's true. If only we could be zillionaires and just retire. It could be the weekend every day.
Yes. Yes. So today our guest is a longtime trainer in Lexington, Kentucky. Her name is Miara, and she is the owner and head trainer of Rosetree Dog Training. She is now retired and gets to devote more of her time to focusing on dogs and training people. But she's done a wide variety of things, from obedience to tracking, scent work, you name it. And she is a certified dog behavior consultant. And she's pretty proud of the fact that she is one of two in the state of Kentucky.
She should be proud of that. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So let's get to it. Let's talk to her. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Karin.
So tonight our guest is Miara from Rosetree Dog Training, and we're really excited to talk to her and hear a little bit about what she's been doing for the past several years. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your dog experience.
Sure. Yeah, I think I've always been fascinated with dogs, and in fact, and this is true, one of my early memories is when I was 3. I remember my dad coming home with a Springer puppy that he got from the shelter, and he, had it in his arms, because I just have this picture, and her name was Duchess. And so I've always been fascinated with dogs, and my parents and I'm an only child. We had dogs. And since I was an only child, I think I got a lot of companionship and things like that from dogs, since I didn't have brothers and sisters to play with. I had a dog to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that, I really enjoyed being around a lot of dogs. And I always wanted to train dogs. And in fact, when I was young, about 12 years old, my parents and I, we got a Sheltie, and I'd read Albert Pace and Terhune, and I really wanted a collie, but we kind of compromised because they said, look, collies are kind of big. We'll get you a Sheltie.
Sure.
Why not? So, and I wanted to train it, but back then, because this was a long time ago, I was in North Carolina, they told my parents they wouldn't accept children into the classes, that a child would have to be at least 16. And I suspect my parents didn't want to go with me to the classes. So I had a book or an edition of Blanche Sanders' book. And so I kind of did stuff with my Sheltie. I didn't know what I was doing, but I trained him to do some things just on my own. And after I got out of graduate school, because I went to graduate school in Texas, and my husband I had at the time, we moved to Memphis, and he was in a graduate program there. And the day after he finished his orals, we learned of a litter of golden retriever puppies in Fort Smith, Arkansas. So we drove to Fort Smith to pick up a golden retriever puppy, and I started training her with a organization down there called Dogwoods. And so that's kind of how I got started training. And I knew I kind of wanted to show, but the people there were really good. And I did get my first CD with that golden amber, and that was in 1986.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so you've had multiple breeds, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. That's really cool. And you've done conformation and sports?
Yeah. I did have my one golden Lacey. I did put a point on her, and then I'm a lousy groomer, and I know
So am I.
We understand.
I could never groom a poodle.
Sometimes we
I
don't know how we do it either. It's okay.
yeah. So I went back to obedience, but she was my confirmation dog, and she did eventually get her UD. She was also a therapy dog as she got older, and she was my longest lived golden. She lived to be almost 15
Oh,
before she
wow.
passed away. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, because the first golden I had, the one Amber that started all this, and I got the first CD on, she actually died of a very aggressive cancer at the age of 4.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, wow.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, yeah, it's naive, but back then I didn't even know dogs got cancer,
Right.
and she had
Yeah.
just gotten her CDX, and our vet didn't really know what was wrong with her. Her symptoms were vomiting after eating, but we took her to the University of Tennessee vet school, and within 3 weeks it had just metastasized everywhere. So
Uh,
we had to say goodbye to her. So that was I've had mostly golden retrievers as an adult. I had a beagle when I was a child. That was my second dog, named Andy. And I remember he used to climb over my parents' chain link fence and be gone. They say beagles are escape artists.
You got to follow that nose.
That's right. That's right.
I've had 2 poodles that are escape artists too. So, you know, some dogs just want to get out.
Right. Yeah.
They have
Definitely.
things
Yeah.
to do, places to be. There's
Yeah.
no barrier.
That's right. Yeah. And
Just leave her over there.
I had one golden. My golden rim shot was an escape artist, but most of them have not been as good as the beagle. And I had a Sheltie as an adult, and I got a couple of agility titles with her. I do have a miniature poodle now named Cece. I've not done any dog activities with her. She was a poodle that I trained as a puppy when her owner was in the hospital, and I didn't see her for like 5 or 6 years, and her owner passed away, and she needed a home. So I've had her now for about 4 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how did you segue from, or do you still compete your own dogs, or do you just train at Rosetree primarily?
I do still compete. It's changed a bit over the years.
Mhm.
I've started teaching people back around 1998, 2000. I'd had a divorce at the time, and I knew I'd always wanted to do it, but I did it part-time because I was employed full-time
Mhm.
at University of Kentucky. So that was like a part-time thing. And I still kept showing, mostly obedience, but in the recent past, I have gone into things like dock diving. My current Goldens have dock diving titles. I do up dog frisbee activities with them and that kind of thing, rather than traditional obedience. I love traditional obedience, but I wanted to kind of branch out and do some other things, some new things for me. And so that's when I started getting into the dock diving. And of course, they love it.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you like teaching the most?
I like puppy classes because I think it's really good to get the puppies in as puppies and start working on that bond with the owner and the puppy. That's where the puppy is learning how to learn, and people, that's where you develop that relationship and that learning history. So I really like doing puppies. That's probably my most favorite is doing that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sure.
I also do a lot of behavior private lessons now as well. Now that I'm retired, this is my retirement gig. So I teach at a place called Lex Pets, and I do private in-home training.
Cool.
That's nice. I'm sure it is nice too to like with those puppy classes, you know, you see the people come in with their puppies and their puppies are a little hog wild, and then, you know, as the class kind of over the coming weeks, they, you know, they kind of start to get a little more in tune with each other. Hopefully. I'm sure there are a couple of outliers that just want to stay hog wild all the time, but that's really cool.
Yeah, well, I have my current golden retrievers are from what they call field lines, so they're very wild themselves.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but it is fun to watch the puppies and people kind of start to communicate with each other and start. It's always training is always a two-way street. It's never just one way. So the puppies need to learn to trust the owners. The owners need to learn how to communicate with them. And so it's really gratifying to see that. Of course, by the time they graduate puppy class, they're turning into teenagers.
Right.
Right. Which
And
is
so,
that's when the real fun begins. I think
yeah,
we've all had enough puppies to know that.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. But they do. But hopefully they keep on training with them. And it's been really gratifying. I've been doing this long enough that I've had people that have started with me when their dogs are puppies and they've gone through basic and then they've done canine good citizen. And we also do like advanced canine good citizen classes. And I've had people do those. Some of them have gone on to like do agility, you know, and so that's kind of fun to watch the dogs and the people kind of grow and develop through the, you know, through the
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
That sounds super gratifying. Wow.
So have you been in Lexington for a large period of time now? You have, right?
Yeah, I moved up here in '86,
Okay.
and so I've been here ever since.
So how have things changed since you've been here in terms of dog facilities, dog training, that kind of stuff?
Well, training methods have changed a lot, and I was lucky that when I was in Memphis, the woman that I took lessons from was not a real heavy-handed person, because a lot of the training back then used to be we didn't use treats. A lot of times we would just use the leash to kind of, you know, we'd say heel, you know, and we jerk the leash. And so the dog was just supposed to come with us and
Right.
that kind of thing. And some breeds were okay with it, but a lot of dogs weren't. They just didn't want anything to do with it. And dogs don't like to fail. And back then, we used to spend a lot more time setting them up to fail so we could correct them.
Mm.
Whereas now it's more about setting them up to succeed. And that's something I try to get to tell my clients that you want to set the dog up to get the behavior you want. If you wait for them to do it wrong, you're being reactive, you're not being proactive. And all my clients have heard me say this: dogs act first and they go, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that. And then they do it again. And then they're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. So the more you can set them up for the correct behavior from the beginning, that's much more helpful.
That's really good advice. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. Like I feel like I feel like the dog training journey is kind of never ending. I feel like dogs kind of are like a perpetual 3-year-old child. Like you just kind of have to sort of keep going after him sometimes for some
Yeah.
things. And I needed that. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, you know, behavior is fluid and it's not like taking your car to the mechanic and then it's fixed. You know, they're
Sure.
always learning. And when people call me about seeing puppies, because I do like what I call a puppy package, and I'll meet with people privately for 2 private lessons. And it's all about setting the puppies up. But people are always like, well, how do I correct this? And the problem is they've already done it. And
Right.
so it doesn't work as well as not letting them have, if they're housebreaking your puppy, you don't want to let them have the run of the house.
Right.
You know, taking them out on a schedule, that sort of thing. And some people don't, they tend to forget that. And so they're only puppies. You know, I've had people with 12-week-old puppies ask, well, when will they tell me that they need to go out? And I'm like, well, you have to, it's incumbent upon you to make sure that you get them out there. You can't wait for them to tell you.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
They
you'll
don't
miss
have
it
that
for sure.
vocabulary. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, potty training. I
Yeah.
vividly remember because mine would try to sort of show me, and
Mm-hmm.
me being the oblivious human
Mm-hmm.
missed. I remember missing two signals that she gave me. One was we were playing, tug, and then all of a sudden she lost interest, and that should have been my first clue of, oh, we got to go do
Yeah.
something. And the other one, she had been playing and then wandered. Like I should have known. It's one of those
Mm-hmm.
things, you know what I mean? It's been 3.5 years, and I'm like, man, I still remember when that happened. But you're
Oh,
right.
I know.
The being proactive, it helps, a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, I really wish I could get a video of a puppy right when they get that look. And once you know that look, you recognize it. And it's like, they're kind of like, oh, I need to do something and I'm not sure what it is, and
Yeah.
if you can get that look, but some dogs are easier than others. And my dog Coach, and I've told a lot of people about this, I thought I was great with housebreaking. And then I got coached. I realized it was the dogs. It wasn't me. Because Coach he would be playing or he'd be running around and all of a sudden he just go, I got to go right now. Boom. And I had to sit around with my coat on. I got him in early March. You know how cold it can be.
Yes, that's when I got mine.
Yeah. You have to sit around with your coat and he wouldn't give me much time, So, so I learned it had a lot to do with the dog as well. It wasn't just that I was great at housebreaking. I just happened to have dogs that were a lot easier than him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that just I used to keep a Carhartt and a pair of sweats at the end of my bed for the middle of the night potty
Yeah.
breaks. I blast from the past. Thank you, Chris, for that. I appreciate it.
I'm right in the middle of that with a 15-week-old puppy, so I feel that.
Yeah, definitely. And the older you get and the more dogs you have, the harder it's like, oh, I didn't remember this part.
It is a lot easier now that the puppies have gone home.
Yeah.
I just have one to worry about, but she usually starts walking around in a circle and I'm like, oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If you can see that and take them out. And it does help if you have other dogs that are trained because they will help that dog.
Yeah.
And so that you can kind of use as your guide to kind of help the puppy, because puppies will look and see what the other dogs are doing. So that helps. I know there was one dog that I worked with, and this was several years ago. It was a couple that had a dog had been a puppy mill breeder, and it had never been out of a cage. So it had a lot of issues besides just pottying, but they don't understand to go outside. They don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that kind of helped that dog was I brought my dog over. I had another dog at the time named Charm, and I teach my dogs to go when I tell them, because when you're showing, they need to do that.
Go. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so they were really good at it. So I brought Charm out there and, we were telling Charm to go to the bathroom and she did it. And no, this did not solve all the dog's problems, but the dog looked at her and it was like, oh, I can do that here. It's like, it just didn't know.
Right.
When I moved to Arizona, I took Winnie, my standard, and we drive across the desert. And I'd been living in Kentucky. Her whole life has been spent in grass and rain and, seasons. And we were driving through El Paso, and it was her first opportunity to pee on gravel ever in her life. And I set her down and I was like, go potty. And she looked at me and she's like, are you sure I'm sure I'm allowed? This doesn't now it's the only thing she wants to potty on is gravel. She refuses to go on grass. I don't know what her deal is. But yeah, she looked I just remember looking at her, and my brother was with me. He's helping me drive my car. He looked at me, he was like, is she okay? I'm like, I think she's just confused at what I'm asking her. Now she'll go wherever, but she prefers gravel. That is, she's like a cat, I guess, in that sense.
I mean, they do learn, where they're supposed to go, and new experiences can be weird.
Yeah.
I made sure all of my puppies peed on the deck, and I've been really lucky because it's not March and we've had such a dry summer, so my entire litter has been outside and we went home being really acclimated to the outdoors and understanding that we run outside. But you don't always get that, I've been really lucky with this one.
Yeah. Well, and you do get a substrate preference. Now, Cece, the poodle that I have, she did go through a spell since her owner was elderly. I had housebroken her when I had her, but her owner was not in good health, and so she had pee pads all over the house.
Oh yeah.
So it took Cece quite a while when I got her back, but she's good now. But yeah, when there's bad weather, Cece kind of looks at you like, really?
It's like, you're gonna pull those out again, lady, or what?
That's right.
Or I'm not going out there.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow, this has been a really nice blast from the past on the potty breaking.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
Edit that out.
No worries. Sometimes we get Karen's dogs chewing on a toy in the background. Sometimes mine yawns like a velociraptor. There's all kinds of noises that pop up in the background. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I'm in my husband's back room, and it's kind of a workshop, but it has good. I thought the sound would be better, but there's all kinds of things here. I have to be careful when I walk around.
Right. I had a question just because I also have enjoyed training my dog. We've done like some little trick titles and stuff. What would you recommend for somebody who wants to start getting more into the obedience competition arena? Like, where would you suggest to kind of, I mean, obviously training your dog to listen to you and do the moves, but do you suggest going to classes or?
A lot depends on the particular class and what you want. For obedience competition, the difference is that your dog has to, it can be very artificial. It's kind of like dressage. They have to sit straight. There are certain things they have to do. And for obedience, rally is a little less formal. And classes are very good. It's great to work in a class. It does help to do something with someone privately just to make sure you understand what you're teaching your dog. Because a straight front, a straight sit, that's kind of, why would a dog do that? You know, that's not very natural. And it can, I know people say it's boring. And again, that's my bias. I don't think it's boring, but you do have to be more enticing and make it more exciting, because something like agility, I mean, they're running, they're jumping.
Right.
That's very exciting. You know, dock diving, if they love to dock dive, like my dog Rye, I honestly didn't teach her how to dock dive. I had gone to a competition, and we were running late, and I couldn't do what they call try it, you know. So I just went up there and I threw the bumper, and Rye was like, "Oh, no problem." She just jumped off and got it, because that's her personality.
Lucky you. Good for you, Chris.
I know, because most of them won't, you know. But so obedience is much more formal. The challenge of it is that you do it, even though you're in a ring, every show site's a little bit different, but you don't have treats. And I'm all for using treats, but you don't have treats. You have you can only do certain things with your body language. And it is a much more artificial environment, but it is challenging to see if your dog can do it with you in that environment. And the two of you do have to be connected.
Right. Okay. That's good to know. I've been thinking about dabbling in that a little bit, and I thought you would be a good person to ask. So I'm glad I did. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's a lot of fun, but there is anything you do with your dog, but particularly obedience, I think the bond is different than when you just have a pet.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I completely agree with that. We've done a little bit of agility here and there, and going to those classes, and like when she's turned on and like paying attention to me, the connection is so much different than when we're just bumming around the house or out looking for lizards in the bushes and stuff like that. Like, it is a whole different energy, and it's very gratifying. Yeah, to know that you have that, you know. I think your comparison to obedience and dressage kind of made me chuckle a little bit. Karin and I are both connected to the horse world, and it made me think like, well, yeah, some people do think dressage is a little boring, but if you know what to look for, it's very interesting to watch.
Oh yeah.
Versus yeah, and then, you know, agility is like show jumping where it's flashy and fun and everybody's running around the ring. Thank you for that. But yeah. Well, cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that's helpful, and I hope some of our listeners find that helpful too.
Yeah.
And something like scent work, like tracking. I've done tracking. I have not done barn hunt or other scent work yet. I might, but tracking I found very different because the dog has to tell you where to go, and it's much more Zen-like in that you're not the one making the decisions where to go. And my second golden Blaze, he was much more independent, and I learned a lot from him. If I could clone one dog, I think it would have been him, because training methods were so different back then. I think he would have been a lot better if I knew what I knew now. But he wasn't necessarily that into food, but he wanted to do stuff if he liked to do it.
Right.
And I got his CD. It was a bit of a struggle. We just weren't connected. And one of the kennel club members here, because I'm a kennel club member, she was a tracking judge, and we started tracking with her, and he just turned on. It's like, I like being out 40 feet and telling you what to do.
Mine might like that too then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you can do that. But it did help. And then we went back and got his CDX, and it did make a big difference as far as we were sort of, we found a common ground.
Okay, yeah. That's neat. I don't know that there's a whole lot of scent work stuff out where I am, but I know you can get like kits and stuff and start teaching myself. Gosh, there's so much I want to do with my dog.
There's so much you can do. Yeah,
I know. It really is exciting. I love going to class. I, of course, had told you that I wanted to do agility, and I want to do agility with all of mine, which, I obviously can't. I have to choose who's going to go to class. And it's kind of funny because Alfred, my show dog, he can do all of the things that he needs to do, but I just haven't trained him to do it in that context. If he's up on the table, he's staying up on the table.
Right.
And if I go to the bathroom at a show, he's still on the table when I come back. But it is a little bit different. I have to do a little bit of work to get him ready for an actual class. I just bought a little agility kit, and we've been playing the tunnel.
Winnie loves the tunnel. That's her favorite thing on the planet. She zooms in and out of that thing the whole time.
Yeah.
Like it's,
They love the tunnel.
They call it tunnel suck. Some dogs will see a tunnel. It's like, oh, there I am.
That's what it is, Chris. It really is.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I could probably reliably tell her, like, to go to from across the room. She'd be like, great, say less, I'm going.
Yeah. And so the trick with that is sometimes you go on ahead, and sometimes you've got to listen and no, we're not going to take the tunnel. We're going to do something else. And so you get that, back and forth.
That is the challenge on occasion. Yep. Ask her to jump from over there. No. Tunnel? Absolutely. Sign me up, she says.
Yeah. And the thing that people forget about dogs, not you guys, but they don't generalize well, which is something else I try to let my clients realize, because people will say, well, they did it at home or they did it here. True, but they don't automatically do it somewhere else. So I tell people they can be perfect in your kitchen, and then you go out in the front yard and they're like, really?
Oh yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
And then you go in the backyard here too, and you take them to a park or something. They're like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. I got to do it here. And that's just part of being a dog. They're not being obstinate. They're not being stubborn. Those prefrontal and frontal lobes of our brain are much bigger, and theirs aren't as big, and they're not stupid, but they don't automatically make that leap. We kind of have to take it on the road.
Right.
I mean, I'm definitely guilty of doing that. I'll be like, what is wrong with you today? And it's probably that we're in a different environment, and it's, they think in the moment. So like if something's changed in that moment, it may feel so different for them that it's like, nope, not clicking. Don't get it. What is it? What are you asking?
Yeah. Or you change one thing. And I can identify with that because I was a musician in undergraduate school. That was my major, was music. And coming back to that, piano was my instrument. Right now I'm learning banjo. And I mean, there are days that I'm like, fingers, strings, what does what, or I have no clue what they're doing.
Oh yeah. Like,
And I
what are
could have done
notes?
it before. Yeah. Yeah. And even it sounds stupid, but if I'm practicing at home and sometimes I'll go to Lex Pets and maybe I don't have anything for a little bit, but I've got to set, I'm waiting for, setting up for agility and I've got time. So I'll take my banjo and it's like play the same thing at Lex Pets that I played at home. It's like, even that is weird. So
Yes.
That's actually a really good analogy on how to put that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Really good one.
Oh,
Well,
cool.
thank you so much for being our guest. It's really been a delight to talk to you and get a little bit of insight about what you do and what you like teaching.
okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah, this, like I said, this is my retirement gig, and I have some other people helping me now, but who knew what it was going to turn out to be?
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate
sure.
your time.
Thank
You
you.
do.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
All right. Well, before we go, Karen got herself a new toy this week, and we just thought we might talk about it. I haven't heard about this brush yet, but I am excited to hear more. Karen, what did you buy?
So I have been trying to keep a set of brushes and combs upstairs as well as down in the basement where I groom. And I just find it makes it easier if I have brushes with me in both places so that if Alfred is developing a tangle, I can immediately tackle it. So I have 3 brushes that I use all the time. And I decided to buy a shorter brush, a shorter pin brush. My original pin brush is one that I got from a slightly obscure website called Ashley Craig something something. And the website is actually greyhoundcomb.com.
Oh, yeah.
And I I bought a short pin brush from that company, and it is shorter than a 20 millimeter or 20 whatever the measurement is um, on combs brushes. And I decided to try a Chris Christensen 20. I have the 27 and I have the Chris Christensen, what is this one? 35. I have to be honest, I don't recommend the 35 for anyone. But the 27 has been my workhorse, and I'm hoping that the new 20 will be even better because a short brush, especially when you have a dog in coat, a short brush is really handy for getting in right behind the ears.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, since we have a puppy in the house right now and the puppy does play with Alfred some, I have to be really careful about his ears.
Yeah, those things are like free dangling chew toys over there.
They are. And even though he's banded, even if she just, tumbles with him a little bit, I have to immediately brush him out. So I'm hoping that the 20 Chris Christensen pin brush will be my new favorite brush. So far, it's looking really good. I also bought a new detangler, and I'm switching from Chris Christensen Just Divine, which is a brushing spray, and I'm using Ice on Ice as my brushing spray.
Okay.
And I'm going to be honest again, I haven't really noticed a difference. I think one of the challenges about grooming at home is that I tend to finish a product up and then
Oh, yeah.
switch to a new one. So I don't really, it's not like I'm doing a side by side comparison. So
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess if you wanted to, you could do, if you're brushing out ears, you could do like one ear in one spray and one in the other and see if you notice a real difference. Maybe.
I could, except that I ran out of the
Oh,
Divine, which is why I bought the Ice on Ice.
oh, fair.
So,
Fair.
I'm kind of cheap. I wait until I have finished one product and Chris Christensen products are not cheap, so I don't usually have multiples of them to compare. So that's why I can't do a side by side.
That's fair. I don't blame you for that.
Yeah.
And you're right. Some of those products are good, but they are a little bit spendy. I agree.
Yeah. And I think I liked the Just Divine just fine, and I seem to like the Ice on Ice just fine.
Yeah.
So I can't really tell you which one to buy them. I'm just telling you I switched. I don't know if that's good or bad. If Allison ever hears this, she might think I'm nuts and not paying attention to her webinars. But you know, that's just how it is in my household.
Our amateur experience is saying that it's the same.
Right. They both seem fine. They both seem to help with the problems. So there you have it.
Fair enough.
I definitely recommend the 20 pin brush. I do love this length. That and the 27 are my two favorite lengths on a pin brush, and I use a pin brush more than anything on Alfred's coat, and even for the other girls too, who are in short coats right now. I find it to be the workhorse of the brush family in my household.
Yeah, I think I also have a 20 millimeter pin brush from oh my gosh, I cannot even talk. Chris Christensen, that I use on Winnie for some of like the bulkier areas, and especially like I use them in the bath a lot to get like conditioner everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I guess kind of like how you're supposed to for people, but you know, I'd be over here taking more care of my dog's hair than my own sometimes.
Oh,
I don't remember the last time I ran a comb through my hair with conditioner in it. But for Winnie, it's anything. But yeah, I agree. I think the shorter ones are a little easier to handle. I like those a lot.
Yeah, they're definitely handy, you know, if you are brushing some knots out of a bracelet or, you know, something like that, something that's a little bit smaller, or definitely working behind the ear or the shoulder where mats tend to occur.
Yeah,
really
I agree. Nice. I actually use it a lot in her tail too. You know, those tails touch everything that they sit on, so you can get some gnarly little things in them. Especially if you live here where everything's dusty and crusty all the time, just because of the environment we live in.
Yep.
But those sound like some pretty good buys, Karin. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, it was nice. I always love getting a new brush and seeing how much I like it.
It's like getting makeup, but it's for dogs.
Exactly.
It's like a new lipstick, only dogs don't wear lipstick, so it's brushes for them.
Yep.
But cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. And if anyone out there is in the market for any of those kinds of products, there's a review from Karin for you on how those work. But cool. Awesome. Well, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening, and remember, a poodle will change your life. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Poodle People. Please remember to like us on your favorite platform, or even better, leave a review. We really appreciate it, and it helps us get new listeners. And if you have any questions you want me or Elise to answer, send us an email at poodlepeoplepodcast@gmail.com.